this is Divine, the D of DNN. So today I'm doing a video by myself. I hope you guys don't mind. And it's just gonna be me kind of sharing my journey as I was being built up to graduate, I guess, and everything that I've learned, things that I want to share with you guys, lessons that I have, that I feel like you don't have to go through the same things or anything to be able to just, I guess, be successful in this journey. So yeah, this is gonna be just me, and I hope you guys enjoy. First thing that I've learned is that for you to grow, you've got to get outside your comfort zone. And for me, it started since my first year when I decided to study somewhere and I chose Bloemfontein. Everybody in my family was like, Divine, what are you doing? They were worried because if you know me personally, I'm not a crybaby, but I can be very sensitive and I can be very closed off, if that makes sense. And I remember when I chose Bloemfontein, everybody was like, she's not gonna make it. My family said I wasn't gonna make it in the best way possible. They're like, Divine is so used to being close to everybody, how is she gonna make it there? And I remember getting here and it was quite scary, but I realized as I was growing up, and by growing up I mean just from first year to second year, was that nothing good happens inside your comfort zone. I'm not saying if you're doing your third year, you're probably going to be like, well, thanks Divine, I'm basically done with my studies, what am I going to do? But it's just to say, grow outside of what you've always known. It's very easy to get comfortable. It's very easy to think that you are actually making progress or that you're growing when you stay within things that you've always known. There's no challenge. There's nothing that actually is pushing you beyond what you already know. So for me, coming to Bloemfontein was so necessary because when I got here, not only was it outside my country, first of all, outside from DRC to South Africa, it was from Joburg, which I've always known and which I've always been comfortable with, to Bloemfontein, something that I'd never experienced before, with people that I didn't know. I don't speak Afrikaans or Sotho, and I got here in the second semester of my studies. So when I got here, it was really, really hard because people were already established in their ways, especially in ways. So I basically had to start learning how to be somebody, if that makes sense. And so you can't really do great things inside your comfort zone. So it's very, very important to go somewhere where people don't know you, they don't know your name, and then you're gonna grow. So that's my main thing, just to go somewhere bigger than yourself so you can find yourself. And so the second thing that I learned that I would really advise for anybody is to strive for excellence. And I know this sounds like, well, I'm just trying to do my best. But when we're honest with ourselves, sometimes it feels like I didn't really try. I could have done better. And so that's in every area of your life, but specifically I'm speaking about school now. Because you're here in university, and my mom told me something that stuck with me forever. She says, Divine, if you can give somebody an education, you can give them God. They basically sorted for life. So when you're here, actually do take it seriously. That's what I mean by striving for excellence. Don't just settle for a 50% or 60% or whatever. I'm not saying now everybody must get 100% for everything, but push yourself. You know when you've put in the work. You know when you've actually studied. You know actually when you've actually been to classes. And I know it's very funny, and I laugh at the same memes about falling asleep in class or never seen your lecturers before, whatever, but it's very important because this is your life. Nobody else can live it for you. You understand? So if you actually take this seriously, it sets you up for the rest of your life. So take it very seriously. It is your studies. It is your chance to make something out of yourself. After university, if I become lame or I never amount to anything, I can't blame anybody. I had the chance. I was here to make an impact and to make a difference. So that's my second point. My third point is the company that you keep. Now we all know that, let's say if I wanted to learn a language, let's say if I wanted to learn English, I would start watching English movies, I would start listening to English music, I would start hanging out with people who speak English so I could actually absorb what it was that they were speaking, right? And it's the same thing as you as a person. I always tell people you are constantly being planted into, you are soil. Things are always being planted into you. So whoever you hang around is you're going to be reflecting what they give you. Even if you think, well, I'm just hanging out with people who do 1, 2, 3, 1 always rub up on me. It always does. And so if you want to do well, if you want to be successful, if you want to do things that make you significant, you can't hang around things that are opposite to that. So it's very, very important to watch the friends that you keep. And so for me, I remember in first year, I didn't really have friends because, like I came in second semester, and so people already settled into who they were. And I was basically by myself for a while, and I remember just starting to hang out with people, even though I knew they weren't trying to pursue what I wanted. I just stayed because I would rather be with the wrong people than to be lonely. And what that did is that it really affected me emotionally, spiritually, academically. So this is a time to really protect yourself and guard your heart. This is a time to be selfish and selfless, and it's a hard balance to find. And the fourth thing that I learned is that you need to discover who you are. And so I know this sounds very cheesy, and it's like, oh, you go to university and you all of a sudden discover who you are. But I really feel like when you fall away from everything that you've ever known, it's when you actually have time to realize what does divine actually want. And like I said, I grew up in a very big family. We were all very close, and so I was always attached to something else. And for once I was like, okay, when I step back, what do I actually want? And you can't discover yourself outside of your creator, and that's something that I mentioned now. But for me, it was also to realize that discovering yourself comes with a lot of doubt, a lot of failures, and it's okay. Like I remember in my first year, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to study psychology. And I went through a phase where I was like, maybe this is not what I'm meant to be. Maybe I'm supposed to do medicine like I initially wanted to. And I eventually stuck with this, and it actually became something that I actually loved. And so it's okay to be in a place where you are unsure and you fail, and you rather fail than not have tried. And a lot of the times I always wondered, is this what I'm supposed to be? I don't know if this is what I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to do. But I also had to realize and actually say to yourself that it is okay to be unsure. It is okay to have fears and all of that, but not to stay there. And so with discovering yourself comes a lot of failures, because you're going to be trying a lot of stuff, and it's not always going to work out the way that you want to. And so it's very important to also really understand the process and not rush yourself, not compare yourself to anybody. And then the last thing that I've learned, I wouldn't say I've learned it, but I think I kind of could say that, is God. I've learned to love him more. I've learned to really be in a relationship with him. And for me, I'm going to use an analogy that I always use, but I think about my life, and let's say as a girl, when you meet the right guy and you finally fall in love, I'm sure there's going to be a time when you're going to sit and you're going to look at him and you're going to say, you know what, I wish I'd met you sooner so I could have loved you longer. It's cheesy, but it's true. Sometimes we feel like I wasted so much time with so many guys, and they weren't it, and you are it, and you are the one that I wanted. And I was thinking about him, like, I came to university, and when I met God, not that I met him, but when I started to get to know him for who he was, not the God of my mom or my sister or the school that I went to, when he became my personal God, it felt like that. It felt like I wish I hadn't wasted so much time trying to find myself in other things, in other people, in my accomplishments, in any of that. I wish I'd met you sooner so I could have loved you longer. And it's not from a place of regret, but if I can advise you anything, if there's one thing you can take out of this, is really focus on him. Boys will always be around. There's always going to be an opportunity to do other things, but the time that you have now to focus and to find yourself in him is so important. Like I was saying with my previous point, was that I was unsure of what I was supposed to do, but that's because I was trying to find out what I was meant to do in the hands of people who didn't make me. How can you take, let's say if your phone breaks, you're not going to take it to the dentist and be like, yo, what's up? You're going to go to people who have manufactured the phone to ask them. And so I spent so much time trying to find out who is divine in my relationships, in my friendships, in my family, in what I was studying, in how well I did in high school. And it all always left me feeling empty, because they didn't make me, so they didn't understand me the way that he understood me. So if there's anything you would like to take from this video, really, is that please find Jesus. It's almost like one of those things where it's like you were going to a destination, then you got lost, and then you find your way. Yes, you can find him in your 30s or in your 40s or whatever, but there's things that you could have learned and he could have instilled in you now, that you could have gotten now, and your life would have been much better, but you tried to take it in other places, and now you're behind, if that makes sense. It can still restore, it can still make you whole, but it's very, very important. And for me, honestly, God became my true best friend, and I'm going to speak about that some other time, but he really became my everything. He became a dad. I don't know how to explain this to make sense of it, but he was always like our Father who's in heaven, and then he became my father who was in my room when I was sad. He became my father who was in classrooms when I was depressed. He became my father who was with me when I was really stressed out about a test. So for him to become your personal savior is more than just, I believe, he has to become your everything. And yeah. Alright, now with the testimonies that I have over the past 4 years, I think I'm not going to touch onto everything, because there's a time and place for everything. But those that really stood out for me were, for example, last year, I am a foreign student, obviously, so funding is not always as obvious for us as foreign students. And it was like that for so long that I even stopped really asking around. I never really attempted because I was like, what's the point? I never get anything. And so I remember last year at some point I got an email, and then it was like, congratulations, you've been awarded. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I literally saw the email, it was from ABSA, and I just never looked into it. And then when we came back for the second semester, they were like, no, you got like this funding, come into the office and sign the papers and stuff. And I went and I signed the papers, and I'd never seen so many zeros in my life. I was like, wow. And honestly, to get a bursary that you didn't apply for that amount of money for that long, to me was just amazing. And so that's just a testament of how faithful God is, that he said, like, he brought me here. I know sometimes we look at things and it's like, no, it's, my family I'm trying to represent, and it is your family, and they are the vessels that God used. But honestly, God, if he can bring you here, he won't just leave you here. And so for me, it was one of the most amazing things. Like, for the first time in so many years, I had money in my student card. Like, I went and I bought brand new textbooks for everything, and I was actually able to study and not worry about like where's food gonna come from and stuff like that. As a student, we understand that. So yeah, that was one of the testimonies that I have about that. Another testimony that I have is that I was pulling an all-nighter, and I studied the whole night. And I remember around 4 o'clock, I showered and I got ready for my day, and I sat on my bed around 5. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sleep for an hour or for 2 hours, wake up, revise, and then go write my test at 8 o'clock. Now, this is third year psychology, and you're supposed to be serious. And by serious, I mean they don't take it lightly when you miss tests or stuff like that, because they expect you to be more involved in your own studies. So I remember I fell asleep, and I woke up at 8:40, and my test was at 8, and I freaked out. And I remember just starting to cry, and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed my test. And I only had about 2 or 3 tests, and this was the one that I was supposed to write. And I remember just standing outside my bedroom door just crying, and this girl came to me. She's like, what's wrong? And I told her what was wrong, and she said, just go to your faculty, you never know. So I went to my faculty, and I remember walking to my faculty and just be like, God, I have favor. That's all I kept saying, which is crazy. But as I was walking, I was just like, God, I have favor, I have favor, I have favor, I have favor with men, I have favor with God. This is going to go well. And I got to my faculty, and I spoke to a lady at reception. She was like, what's wrong? Her name is Bonnie. She's really sweet. She was like, honey, what's wrong? And I started crying. I'm like, I fell asleep. I'm sorry. I was ready. I was stressed. I don't know what happened. She was like, no, just calm down, sit down. So she called my lecturer. My lecturer was like, no, she's coming back from the venues where we were writing the test. And she's like, just wait there. So my lecturer comes, mind you, we don't have a relationship. I don't go to her office, so she doesn't really know me like that. And she's like, what's wrong? And I told her my story. I was like, I'm really sorry. And she was so understanding. She was like, it's okay. She's like, calm down. You're going to write your test. And I was like, that was crazy to me, because I didn't deserve it, if that makes sense. Like, I brought that upon myself. So she's like, no, it's okay. She told me, put your notes down. She told me, do you want some coffee? Do you want some tea? Just calm down. And I wrote my test. I remember that test going really, really well. So God really will show up for you, even when you don't deserve it. The whole point of me telling this is that sometimes you can prepare and do everything right, and you think, okay, that's when good things should happen to me. But good things happen even when you are not faithful. Good things happen even when you are not necessarily doing the right thing. And yeah. And then the last one for me was getting into honors. Now, that is a story. But long story short, that I was studying psychology undergrad, and I wanted to pursue that postgrad and hopefully become a psychologist one day. So I applied for psychology honors, and it really is cutthroat, and your marks needs to be, above average. You really need to be part of the best in your classroom. And then exams started. Now this is exams for undergrad, and I remember I had 4 exams only. I was only writing 4 exams. But what my department did is that they made us write 1 exam, and then we had a 2 weeks break, and then we were writing 3 exams in a row, which is disgusting. Please fix it. But that was what they did to us. And so I remember writing therapeutic something, my first exam, and then I had 2 weeks free. And I don't care if they gave us a month, it's still not good to be writing 3 exams one after the other. And I remember just at some point I was like, I can't do this is too much. So I went to the people that are concerned, and I asked them for sick notes, because I wanted to write 2 in a row and then write the other one as an additional exam. And so I went and I got the note, and I went to the doctors, because you need a doctor's note. And I sat across the doctor, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, doctor. Physically, I'm not dying or anything. Yes, my iron levels are really low. Yes, my energy levels are really low. Yes, I'm really stressed out, so I'm getting cramps all over my body. But physically speaking, I'm not necessarily ill. But mentally speaking, emotionally speaking, I cannot write these 3 exams in a row. And I remember just her looking at me and then writing something on the thing, signing it, and then she gave it to me. I was like, okay, thank Jesus, now I'm gonna go. I submitted that, and then they said, okay, so I was only writing 2 exams in a row. Still difficult. And so I'm writing my exams, and then after writing one of my criminology exams, it went so bad according to me. You know, the kind of bad that you can't even be like, God intervene, because God is gonna say 1 + 1 is not equal to 15, divine. There's nothing I can do. Literally, that's how bad that exam went. I was so scared. I sat in my room literally watching like a funny movie, crying in between, because every time I think about my answers, I'll be like... So I sat there and I cried myself to sleep. I'm like, God, if you don't intervene, whatever. And for about a week, I just sat there waiting for my results for that exam. I wrote my other exam, just thinking, God, I stopped even praying about honors. I was saying, God, just don't let me fail. I was praying for a reassessment so I could write the exam again. And I wasn't even thinking about honors. And so that was my prayer. It was like my faith was so low at that point that I was like, God, I just want to reassess. Just give me a second chance. I promise I'm going to do better. And then I remember that was like during the week. And then on Sunday we were at church. And you know, CLC is amazing with praise and worship. So like praise and worship was vibrant. And I remember not feeling it. You know, when you're in church and you're feeling so low and your heart is so heavy and your spirit is so heavy, I couldn't even sing to God. I couldn't even give him what he deserves. And I remember just standing there and God was like, praise me. I was like, and he's like, praise me. And I'm like, God, this is really not a good time. He's like, praise me. And I'm like, Dad, I don't feel like it. And he's like, praise me. And I'm like, you really are inconveniencing me. And he's like, praise me. And I'm like, okay. So I started praising him, and it was one of the best praises that I've ever given God, because it wasn't from a place of, I know everything is fine, so I'm praising you because you did something good for me. I was praising him from a place of desperation, just because he was. And so I was praising, and I got into it so deeply that it felt like a burden fell off of me. And then when we were done with praise and worship, doesn't mean my reality changed. So as we're sitting down, God is like, you got into honors. And I'm like, you and your jokes, Jesus, hey? I was just like, literally God told me, he's like, you got into honors, and I didn't believe him. And I regret it, but I remember it's almost like, let's say you're sitting with somebody, and then he tells you something, and you just look at them in the corner of your eye and you go on. That's how scared I was. I didn't even acknowledge. I was just like, okay. Literally, I said, okay. So that was the Sunday, and then the Tuesday, I was applying for a remark for one of my other exams because I felt like my marks weren't good enough. And they did rob me of 9 marks, but that's besides the point. So then I was supposed to email that to the people. So as I'm onto my emails looking, to send that email to say remark my paper because I feel like 1, 2, 3, I saw an email and then it said, Dear Honors Students. And I'm like, what do you mean, Dear Honors Students? And then I look, and then they were like, no, congratulations on getting into honors. These are your book lists. This is this. So I saw that, and then I'm like, when did I get into honors? So then I look into the emails, and then I went into my spams just to find the email that said I got into honors. And the date on that email was end of September. So since September, I had gotten into honors, but I didn't know. So I wrote my exams, stressing over even if I'm going to graduate or not. And the whole time I was already into honors. So that was just one of the things that really God was teaching me. Because after that, he said, that's why you need to praise me, is to understand that when you ask for something, I've already given it to you. And so you don't need to worry, you don't need to fret, you don't need to have all these anxiety, just trust. And so that was one of the biggest things. I remember when I found out, I screamed in public and they were like, ma'am, keep it together. I was like, y'all don't even know what I'm going through right now. But yeah, God really came through for me. So now I'm doing my honors. And it's great.
Hey guys! Thank you so much for watching this awesome video. We're so happy to be here. And Divine, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Like, guys, I'm at the back. Like, I'm in the back. I'm busy praising the Lord. I'm busy laughing.
She really
was. I was literally like,
If you see me like looking left, it's because she's like walking up and down, distracting me actually.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Please do subscribe and like our video. We want to bring you the greatest content. Tell us what you thought. Tell us if you have any comments and anything that you want to ask Divine pertaining her journey for her graduation, and we'll definitely answer. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
And yeah, guys, so we'll see you soon.
Bye.